I'm going to get us started. So my name is Bradley. I'm CEO of a company called Project Voice. A lot of what we do accelerates the adoption of voice technology and conversational AI, which increasingly sit at an important place for publishers of all types. I'm going to talk about that. So I'm going to share my screen in just a moment. The presentation that I'm going to give here will summarize a lot of what's going on with voice and AI right now, because I always feel like it's important to make it real for people. You know, this is not something that we're talking about 5 years down the road. This is something that's been going on for a while, already impacting lives now. This is not academic ivory tower stuff. So the first part of my presentation will address that. Then I'm going to get into some specifics that are very current for publishing, for the publishing space. Specifically, there's 2 trends that I'm going to point out and 5 companies that are at the forefront of those trends. I'm going to talk about that toward the back end, and then keep us on time. We'll get Denise up in about 27 minutes from now. So I'm going to share my screen. And by the way, point of order, if you have a question, please use the Q&A box in the Zoom. If you put it in the chat, you know, I'll be watching it because I'm used to this, but for the speakers who are after me, they may or they may not be paying any attention to that at all. I'll be watching it, so I'll try to moderate that. But if there's time, if you have a question, put it in the Q&A box. That way we'll make sure to see it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. If I can see how to do that. Oh, here it is, right in front of me. You would think I've done this before. All right, I'm going to put this PowerPoint up here. Let me close that. Let me make it big. Okay. DBW West. Supposed to be in Seattle right now. It's not. Stuff happens. But we're thrilled to be here with you and taking this opportunity to share community together and share some insights with technology and publishing. A little bit about me. I'm going to go through this very quickly. I wrote an article for Harvard Business Review. Your company needs a strategy for voice technology. People like this. It's still relevant. It was written 2 years ago. If you're interested, you can go Google that. I write a weekly Substack newsletter called This Week in Voice VIP. This has got over 25,000 subscribers at this point. It's a well-read thing. You can subscribe to this. There's a paid subscription, and what's happening is every other piece that I write, one is free, one is paid. So if you subscribe for free, you'll get some content. If you pay for it, you'll get good value. So this is something that I do. So there's 3 parts of our business, just to cover this real quick. Project Voice Advisory Group is the first part. We work with companies mid-size to large to help them incorporate voice and AI into their operations, into their marketing. Publishers are certainly included in this group. Companies that are looking at what's going on with voice technology and AI, and they want they correctly recognize that there's efficiency gains, cost improvements, revenue gains that they can realize from adopting that technology. Project Voice Catalyst is the second part of our company. This is our consulting firm that works exclusively with companies born native to voice and AI. We help them grow, we help them acquire new customers, we help orient them in ways that are helpful, and ultimately we help advance them 3, 6, 12 months ahead of where they would otherwise have been. Project Voice Media Group, you're experiencing this part of the company now. So this is our media and content side that handles our YouTube channel, our Substack newsletter, and all of our events, both in person and virtual. Digital Book World, this will be in person, September 13th through the 15th. This will be a small, for us, 250, 300 people size conference, a reboot version of Digital Book World. This will be a lot of fun. If you're interested in this, let me know if you've attended one of our Digital Book World events in the past. Happy to throw a promo code your way or help make this happen for you, because it will sell out. Okay, so that's enough preamble here. So again, I'm going to go through some basic stuff here, some current use cases, and then I'm going to get into some very cutting edge and current trends. I'll try to leave a little bit of time at the end for questions. I'm going to keep my eye on the clock here. Voice first. So what does this mean? And who cares about any of this? So unlike many other gimmicks and fads and hype-oriented technologies that we have seen, specifically in the publishing space, voice is different. Voice is part of who we are. When we're born, even before we're born in the mother's womb, all we have is our mother's voice. And then as we grow, we acquire an inner voice that will guide us for the rest of our life. So it always stood to reason that as technology evolved, it would arc toward being voice-driven, voice-oriented, what me and many other people call voice first. And this is why, Amazon, Google, Samsung, Apple may come and go. The players involved may shift, but voice at the forefront of computing is not going anywhere. And voice as what I call the front door of AI, the way that we engage with a more intelligent form of computing, is also not going anywhere. This is a graph this is a bar chart from voicebot.ai. So if you don't know what voicebot.ai is, you should go there. It's a very important news site for this technology. So what you're looking at here is smart speaker market share in the United States. And if you go down to the bottom of this and look at 2019, you see Amazon 60%, Google 24%. Then 1 year later, Amazon's market share decreased 7-8%. Google's market share increased 7-8%. And the point here is that prior to the pandemic, we were seeing a duopoly emerge in this voice area between Amazon and Google. So it was shaping up to be another Coke and Pepsi, another Nintendo and Sega, whatever, two big companies crowding out everybody else. And this has changed a little bit, but it's important to sort of realize that this is what was going on as we headed into the pandemic, and thus shapes what's happening afterward. So I'm going to spend a lot of time on this slide here, and this is the early successes I was talking about. I'm going to roll through this efficiently, but this will paint you a picture on just how impactful this technology has already been. So not in the future, already. Novel effect. So this is a publishing application of voice where, and this was one of the very first companies to be accepted into the Amazon Alexa accelerator that they've done in partnership with Techstars. So what Novel Effect does is they listen to your voice as you are reading a story out loud, presumably to a child. So if I'm reading a story out loud to our 9-year-old son, it will hear that either through a voice device of some sort or through their mobile app, and it will detect that a story is being read out loud. And what it will do is it will sync up this custom created audio soundscape with music, that a lot of which was recorded in Nashville, and sound effects that complement where you are in the book. So if I'm reading a book and I'm in chapter 5, it's going to detect, Novel Effect will detect I'm in chapter 5, not chapter 1. It's not going to play the same stuff. And this sounds like a gimmick, but what has been learned is that when you marry up a soundscape like Novel Effect provides to a live reading of a book from one human being to another, or possibly multiple others if it's in a group setting, reading comprehension explodes and retention explodes. And there's a major educational impact to this technology. It has set this company on a fantastic journey, and it's a really interesting company just to know about, because you're going to be hearing more about them. They went on Shark Tank. Just a little note about them. They went on Shark Tank. They got an offer from one of the sharks. I don't think it was Mark Cuban, somebody else, and they declined it. It was a 7-figure offer. They declined it. They went to venture capital. They raised 3 or 4 million right after that. I think they've gone on to raise more. A big deal. Stephen King Library. So this is a partnership between Simon & Schuster and a agency in New York City called Skilled Creative. That is basically the closest thing there is to, it's a great glimpse into what AI can be for book discovery. And we'll hear Chris Morrow from Amazon talk about this at the end of this program. So how this works, this is an Alexa skill. So that's the nomenclature for an app for Alexa. So this is an Alexa skill where you go and you say, Alexa, open Stephen King Library. I hope I'm not setting your devices off while I'm saying this. Alexa, open Stephen King Library. And it'll say, okay, what's the most recent Stephen King book that you've read? So Stephen King's written 50 to 60 books. So you tell it to it, and then it'll start asking you some other seemingly random questions. And then it will produce a list for you, a personalized list of the next books that Stephen King has written that, in this computer's opinion, you should read. And it's got a commerce component to it as well. And so super interesting. This has had, it got a lot of press. It's had a very nice impact for everybody involved. Certainly one of the early successes here. Alexa, what am I holding? So if you've seen an Echo device, an Alexa device with a front-facing camera, the Echo Show is the most common one of these. If you go up to that and you say, Alexa, what am I holding? If you're holding an item with a barcode, it's going to say it wants to scan the barcode. If it doesn't have a barcode, it'll Shazam style try to use machine learning to detect what you're holding. Either way, it's going to tell you, if it has a barcode, it's definitely going to tell you what you're holding. And this is transformative from an accessibility point of view. People who are blind, people who are low vision, other sorts of accessibility scenarios. This is a reason that many have bought an Echo Show device alone. And it's really powerful. And, there's stories after stories on lives that this one little feature that Alexa does has changed. And it's just important. This is something that Amazon doesn't talk that much about, but a very important use case right out of the gate. Alexa Guard. So this is something that's transforming the insurance sector. So, and there's other things. I mentioned Alexa Guard here, but Google's got a version of this. There's some other third-party companies that have their own version of what I'm about to tell you. So this basically listens to your environment, and it will say, okay, you wake up, we hear activity in the home. First of all, we tell it this is a home that you're in, this device. So we're listening and we see, okay, there's activity starting on average at 6:42 in the morning. And then generally speaking, we stop hearing activity at 10:08. And we hear 12.2 doors opening a day. We hear the refrigerator opening 2.1 times a day for 9 seconds at a time. We hear the bathroom this many times a day. We hear this sort of noise decibel level on average, all benchmarking basically the environment. And if something deviates from those benchmark levels, if you got a senior citizen living at home and you don't hear anything for 12 hours, it's calling somebody. Okay, it's calling the police. It's calling a point of contact, a family member, to find out what's going on. And if it hears glass breaking or something identified with someone breaking in or a crime, it'll do something with that too. This already is being used to reduce premiums by insurance companies. A lot of interesting things going on. This is a similar corollary of this technology is also being used in the car too, with companies like Allstate and State Farm. So really important to note that sort of thing is going on. Google Recorder, this is very simple. This is Google allows you to record audio with no internet connection, and it can transcribe and to some languages translate it with no cloud access. So there's a whole accessibility-oriented, equity-oriented conversation about who has internet access in this country and others, and what that means. And companies like Google are thinking about this and figuring out how can we bring meaningful uses of technology, voice-oriented in this case, that don't rely on the cloud. And all that does is open up a bunch of doors for more and more people. Smart speakers and college freshmen and senior citizens. So, it's interesting to note that despite the fact we live in the information age, we live depressed, lonely, isolated lives. And two groups of people are more lonely and isolated than everybody else: college freshmen and senior citizens. Well, it's been discovered already that when you put smart speakers, Echo devices, Google devices, whatever, into environments with college freshmen and senior citizens, good things start to happen. Senior citizens take their drugs more often and more consistently. They participate in their community more. They die less. They have better health outcomes. College freshmen, very similar. They participate more. They go to class more. They make better grades. They drop out less. They kill themselves less. Really fascinating research going on, important to note. Speech pathology, people who have speech issues, when you give them a smart speaker, they overcome those speech issues much faster than if they just work with a speech therapist alone. And speech pathologists have been all over this. Project Understood, I'm going to come back to in just a second. Finally, on this slide, just to cap off a look at early successes, Canary Speech and Carnegie Mellon. So Carnegie Mellon made news last year by creating a test where they listen to your voice, and to a 90-ish% confidence interval, so a high confidence interval, but not enough for FDA approval, they can tell you if you have COVID now or if you've had it recently, because it does something to your voice. This was all over the news. You can Google it. It's really interesting. Canary Speech has technology that also will listen to your voice, not your words, but your vocal intonation and output, and can diagnose one of 10 to 15 different diseases. And it's challenging. It's a little scary, but ultimately it saves lives. So there's one video that I show in this before I get into the publishing trends I want to cover, and this is short. But it makes a point. It speaks for itself. So Google has partnered with the Canadian Down Syndrome Society on a project called Project Understood. And basically, the gist of this is that voice technology for people who speak normally will understand 98 to 99% of what you say. There's arguments over it. It doesn't matter. But for people with Down syndrome, voice technology understands roughly 1 in 3 words that these folks say, and it's dehumanizing. It's not right, is what it is. And this is inspiring. This is something great. This is worth showing, so I'm going to do it.
I can use my voice for all kinds of things. Like nailing a job interview.
Meeting a cute person at a bar.
Impressing you with my karaoke skills.
But I can't use it.
To ask about the weather. Hey, girl, what's the forecast today?
Sorry, I don't understand.
Or call my mom when I need help. Hey, Google.
Because right now, voice technology doesn't always understand people with Down syndrome, which sucks. Nobody likes to be misunderstood.
Or left behind. I may sound different, but I still have a lot to say.
So we're partnering with Google.
So we can solve it together, using our own voice.
The more voices we have,
the better the technology will get. So we can create a future
where every person with Down syndrome is understood. We got this.
I'm teaching Google.
I'm teaching Google.
I'm teaching Google.
Donate your voice
At projectunderstood.ca.
Hey, Google. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that's a great video, and you know, sort of caps off this general picture of voice technologies here. It's impacting people a lot right now. So one final point here, and that's coming out of this pandemic, our approach toward big tech has changed. And I could have chosen any articles I wanted to. I just chose a couple here. So if you note the date on this article, December 10th, 2020, survey, Americans think big tech isn't so bad after all. So that's after the election. You know, the mood of the country has swung a certain way. Americans think big tech isn't so bad after all. Well, fast forward a month, out of the, I think this is New York Times, big tech has helped trash America. So, and again, these are two specific articles. I could have chosen any ones I wanted to. The point here is that the attitude toward big tech is changing and worsening daily. And so this, along with the early successes I showed, really, as you weigh your role with whatever it is you're doing in the publishing landscape, you need to kind of be aware that there may be pushback to things that relate to big tech and voice, even more so than there were before. And correspondingly, there will be more independent options available to you to do voice and AI oriented things you want to do. All right. So with that, I want to cover really some new stuff here in the last few minutes that we've got. 2 emergent trends. So if you don't take anything else away from this, this is valuable. First of all, automation across publishing value chain and org chart. Right now, there is work to, you know, if you want to be positive about it, make publishing better. You want to be cynical about it, eliminate jobs, all across the publishing organization chart. So I'm talking everything, editors, people who acquire titles, everybody, marketing, executive management, sensitivity readers, you know, people who do that stuff, everybody. There's AI being applied to all of it. So that's if you know, that's a critical thing to realize. Number 2 is synthetic voices applied to audiobooks, and specifically the backlist. So the quality of synthetic voices has improved to such a shocking extent that it is now highly cost effective to have synthetic voices record audiobooks, especially ones on the backlist that maybe aren't as high profile, but applying synthetic voices just to help publishers of various sizes increase their audiobook catalog. So 5 companies to know, and I'm happy to send this presentation out afterward. All you have to do is ask, but I'm going to leave this slide up here for a minute. I'm going to describe what these companies are. Authors.ai, that's their website. They are a company that is that basically you can upload your manuscript if you're an author, or if you're a publisher, upload a bunch of manuscripts, and it will tell you, you know, it will give you a lot of basic information on the manuscripts. This was written at a 7th grade level, that sort of stuff. But it will also tell you, based on these tropes and this character development, and you know, comparing it to 10,000 other books in the genre, we think that this has a probability of 82% of being successful over the next 6 months in this field. And here's why, if it's marketed properly or whatever. So this is already AI applied to acquisition, and it's AI applied to editing as well, because it points out, hey, you have a propensity to use this phrase, you know, maybe it's a phrase, you have the propensity to say, more than the normal person. You need to cut that out. And if you click this button right here, we'll cut it out. So super interesting company there. Lately.ai, this is a AI-based replacement for a social media manager. Basically, this ingests your video, any articles that you have, any content that you have as a company or as an individual, and it just on its own creates as many social media posts as you want. And it sounds like it might not work very well. It actually works real well. The only challenge they have is they're kind of expensive, but they're working on that. The bottom three companies all are in the synthetic voice space. ReadSpeaker, DeepZen, and Speechki. All three kind of take a different approach with it. All three are very worthwhile knowing. If you go to Speechki's website, it says create an audio AI. Use AI to create an audiobook in 15 minutes. DeepZen and ReadSpeaker kind of phrase it differently. But you look at these three websites and it's going to be crystal clear to you that synthetic voices and audiobooks is a major frontier, a major area where publishers of any size are cutting out costs and increasing revenue. So I'm going to throw my email address up here and I'll see if I can take question or two before bringing in Denise, but my email address is here.